Plaintiffs Crystal Walker and her husband Michael say Michael became addicted to painkillers after he was in a serious car accident. But after he met Crystal, he sobered up, and the two of them started an escort business. Michael eventually got out of that business to become a drug counselor, where he met the defendant, but he's suing because her wife damaged his vehicle. Defendants Tracy Thomas and her wife Shannon Andrea Potts say Tracy was addicted to cocaine and crystal meth, and Shannon was addicted to cocaine and heroin. Both of them are sober now, and Tracy works with Michael, but they believe the plaintiffs are overcharging them. They're countersuing for defamation of character.
What happened?
Just to give you a little bit of history, Your Honor. About 15 years ago, I was in a motor vehicle accident. My grandfather was killed.
Sorry to hear that.
I had broken 17 bones, and I was in the hospital for quite a while on a morphine drip. And when I went home, I was on morphine to Percocets to Lortabs, and so I got hooked on painkillers pretty well. Part of a reason it led to my divorce with my first wife. Then I had moved to Kansas, where some friends of my mother's lived, and got a job at Denny's. And
were you still hooked on painkillers at that time?
well, yes, Your Honor. But when I was working at Denny's on my first night, Crystal came in. She was with a sorority who was on a scavenger hunt, and one of the items was a picture with a Denny's waiter. So
that's how you met her.
So that's how I met my wife, right? As we started dating and things got more serious, I knew that I had to get off of the painkillers. So I started gambling instead.
But how did you get over the physical addiction?
I took a week off of work and stayed at home and detoxed by myself.
Okay, and somehow you were just able to stop?
I wanted to marry her.
I understand. A lot of people want to get off drugs for various reasons, but they're unable to sit in the house and just wait until the urge stops.
Right.
All right, good enough. Everybody, if you're addicted to painkillers, just stay in the house and watch TV. It'll go away.
Or go to Denny's.
Yeah, or go to Denny's. Yeah. Right. All right. All right, we're talking about the balance on a car. How did you meet the defendants?
Well, when Crystal and I had actually moved back to Virginia and from Kansas right after we got married, and money was tight there. She started dancing in a strip club, and it led to other things where we started an escort business. We got a phone call one day.
Prostitution?
No, Your Honor, an escort.
Men don't need an escort to the strip club. They just walk in. You get them out of the car and then walk them in.
We had an ad in the newspaper and in the phone books, and they would call and say they wanted a girl, and we had a list of girls that worked for us.
And where would they take you typically?
I sent the girls.
You never went?
No,
all right.
I didn't do that.
What would they typically do on their escorts?
I didn't ask because the less I knew, probably the better.
All right, you didn't ask. Okay.
So.
All right, let me hear some background from you all.
A little bit of our background is that I am a recovering cocaine and meth addict. I have been clean 8.5 years.
How did you overcome your addiction?
I went to several CA meetings and was probably...
CA?
Cocaine Anonymous.
You didn't just decide to stay in the house and watch TV?
No, it was really difficult.
You hadn't met him by then?
No.
All right, because had you met him, you wouldn't have had to go to those meetings.
I guess
you could just turn on TV, sat there a couple of days,
That's right.
Within a week, you can back to normal.
I'll say my wife is also a recovering addict.
Is that right?
Yeah, heroin and cocaine, but mostly it was heroin.
How did you all come to be addicted?
I got addicted when I was about 14 years old. My mother passed away.
Wow.
And
how did it become available to you at 14?
I ran the streets a lot. I hung out with my friends and ran the streets, and I started
Your
selling.
friends used heroin?
I had a friend named JJ. We called him JJ.
Uh-huh.
He was addicted to heroin at 12 years old.
How old?
12.
12. What community did you grow up in?
I just lived in a little town right about...
A suburb?
Yeah, I guess.
And so there was a lot of heroin in your community?
There was this kid that his parents were drug addicts.
Now I understand, because a lot of people don't know that to be the case. They think that most people addicted on heroin are living in an impoverished, crime-ridden inner city. What else you want me to know? before we get to the balance on the car?
Andrea and I were just married 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What state?
Iowa.
Where did you meet them and when?
We met them at work
When?
in December of 2009.
They were escorts?
No.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Okay. I am a drug and alcohol counselor.
Okay.
Okay. I got into that field because I obviously have a huge passion to help
And
addicts.
so were they in that field?
Mike came to work at the same place I work.
Okay.
He came there in December. I started
right.
in 2008. He came there in December.
Okay, I got you. So you pimped at night and worked
No.
and helped the drug addicted pimps during the day. Well, that's a good idea. That's a novel approach.
I hadn't thought of that.
That's a novel approach.
It does make sense. No, when we moved to Kansas, we
All right, let's get to the balance on the car.
I was approached at work one day. Tracy had asked if Shannon would be allowed to use my van.
That's not true. That's not true.
Let
Your
him
Honor.
finish.
If Shannon would be allowed to use my van to pick up an entertainment center because it would not fit in there.
And what happened?
Well, she hit the back
see
of
it, please.
a FedEx truck. It was a parked FedEx truck.
Ooh.
So it
Wow. So what happened after that?
well, it was obviously totaled. There was a balance that was owed on the van above what the insurance covered. I knew that Tracy had just gotten here's the
Let's see it, please.
paperwork with the balance. I knew that Tracy had just gotten some money a few days earlier. So the day
How did
that
you
it
know the
happened-
woman's business?
because we were both going to the same school. I had taken her actually to
All right.
cash
Go ahead.
her check. So I collected a $500 deductible that day from Tracy. And she said that she would take care of, whatever else was owed.
And what was that?
There was also $600 that was in the payment from
The
insurance.
items that I'm reading that you
Yes,
submitted to me? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So you want to make me do the math.
I'm sorry.
All right. Knowing that I can't add, you've watched this show long enough to know I can't add, and you've watched long enough to know the dog can't half read a calculator. Did they agree to pay?
They did agree to pay. They began to make payments. What we had come up with was $50 a payday, which was every 2 weeks. Is what
How
she would
much
pay.
was paid?
Total was $700 was paid.
And that was from what time period?
That was from the 23rd of February when the accident happened until I had a heart attack March the 21st. And it was right after I had a heart attack and bypass surgery that she decided to quit making the payments.
All right.
I don't think that's quite how
23rd
that
through
happened.
what dates did they make
April
the payment?
16th was the last day of a $50 payment.
All right. Okay. You want to speak on the accident first?
Yes, what actually happened was I go get the entertainment center. I'm heading back to the house, and I just glanced out my window for a second, and when I looked back at the road, the parked FedEx truck was there.
All right.
I
You were
don't know if
negligent. Now, did you agree to pay, or what is it you wanted me to know, ma'am?
After the accident, we immediately gave them $500. The next day, they told us that they were upside down on their van, and so it was going to be $22.40. Later that same day, Mike told me that due to if they paid
What did you conclude the total amount that was to be paid by you?
the first amount he told us was $22.40.
No.
The final amount you all agreed to.
$15.40.
No, Your Honor.
That was the total amount you were to compensate them for this accident.
That's based on our calculations.
No, when you have an agreement, you speak to each other. Did you all ever agree on how much was to be paid?
No, they kept changing the amount that we owed them.
Is that true?
Absolutely
Did you
not, Your
ever
Honor.
agree to $15.40?
No, Your Honor.
Your understanding is the final amount was to be how much again?
$2,952.
All right, and that is the amount you've shown me that was due. How much did you pay?
I paid them a total of $700.
And that's what they acknowledged. All right, your lost wages, how so?
Crystal was working another job. We live a little over an hour from.
Are you saying because you had to get to work?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes.
that's not given because it's not directly related to the accident.
I understand.
All right, let's talk about the counterclaim of defamation.
Andrea was babysitting for Mike and Crystal. They were bringing the kids every morning. As a friend, I was going out helping them carry in the kids. One day I woke up, I called, they were running late, so I said, okay, I'll wait until 10 after you're not here.
How
I
old
left.
were the children?
Approximately 5 or 6 months.
All
and 3.
right, so you're suing them for telling 5 or 6 month olds something negative about you that they didn't understand.
No, it happened at work, Your Honor. They got very upset with me for driving myself to work. And when Mike came into work that morning, he got there after me and he came through the entire facility screaming at me in front of all of my
Saying
coworkers.
what type of
calling
thing?
me horrible names, vulgar names, 4-letter words. Mr. Walker came back to my office in front of clients and coworkers and was yelling at me again, calling me names.
Did the place of employment discipline him?
I believe that one of our bosses did speak
You
with him.
believe? Just spoke with him?
That's all I know.
All right, you should have followed up with that and made a complaint there, ma'am, if he verbally abused you at the workplace in front of coworkers. Because unfortunately, defamation is not being cursed out. Defamation is someone making a false statement about you to another party intentionally, knowingly, in effort to harm your reputation, and it indeed does harm your reputation. All he was doing is cursing you out. I'm going to dismiss your case, and I'm going to grant your judgment minus the lost wages for not being able to make it to work. $2,260 is your judgment. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Friendship's over. That's all there was to it. I mean, they can go their way, we'll go ours.
Yeah, we have no desire to have a friendship with people of this caliber.
We'll go back to work. Everybody at work knows exactly what happened.